Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Yoshi Itoku. I am the Communications Facilitator here at Printing Industries, and with me today I have Mr. John Lane, who is the Manager for Barcode Testing at GS1 Australia. John has been with GS1 Australia since 2000 and he's been managing the barcode testing team since 2004, in which time he has overseen the testing of over 1 million barcodes. Today John is going to be giving us a couple of case studies which will illustrate why it is important to have correct barcoding, what can go wrong if you do not have good barcoding, and then he'll go into more detail about how to go about correctly printing a barcode. So if anyone is interested in expanding their business into the barcoding arena, take notes, listen up. As usual, if you have any questions, please type them into the questions box, which is located between polls and chats, and I will read those out for you at the end of the webinar. That's it for me for the moment. I will now pass you over to John, who will begin the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Yoshi, for your kind introduction. As Yoshi said, I'm the manager for barcode testing. GS1 Australia is a standards body, and we administer the numbering and barcoding standard that is used widely throughout Australia and the rest of the world in the retail sector. The reason for the presentation today is to try and emphasize to you guys who print barcodes the importance of barcodes to your customers, and not only to your customers but your customers' customers, who are generally retailers who are quite big and powerful companies and have specific requirements in the sense of barcoding. Hopefully we'll get to the next screen. Okay, so just disclaimer, images that you see are for illustration purposes only and are not any form of endorsement. The place to start, I suppose, is one that happened about a year ago, Women's Day blunder, slight oversight. They forgot to put the barcode on the actual magazine, which led to a product being recalled, overstuck or labelled, and a whole lot of problems. There was an estimate of a $300,000 figure, which the woman from Women's Day said was highly inflated, but even if it was highly inflated, and let's say it was 50% inflated, so it was only $150,000, that can be quite a significant amount of money to most companies. And it could have very easily been avoided by simply having a processing to check that the barcode was indeed printed on the product, because it was a requirement of that job. One of the problems that I see daily is that people don't understand that the barcode is very critical to the sale of a product and is used widely throughout the supply chain at all different levels. Here's an extract from the Woolworths packaging and barcoding specification. I don't type these figures up. These are figures that Woolworths put in their own documentation and have actually got facts and figures to support that. But basically, if a point of sale have a 1% failure and you're doing 8 billion SKUs, that is 8 billion consumer items get scanned every day, every year through point of sale, it's a loss of 245 hours of delay at checkouts. So that is a significant amount of time and money. It also doesn't take into calculation where products don't scan first time. So examples would be sometimes barcodes are crinkled up in the corner of a product and they have to be straightened out by the checkout operator. There's a flap over the top of the barcode that's got to be removed, then it's got to be scanned again. So those sort of examples aren't in these figures, so if you put that on, added them in, it'd be higher. They also have a requirement for barcodes on their cartons, and which is 745 million cartons. So I don't know what printing type you guys do, whether you're doing litho, flexo, gravure, but irrelevant of your printing process, most of you will be printing barcodes, and this is the sort of impact that faulty barcodes have on your customer's customer. Woolworths, Coles, Metcash would be the customer of your customers, and they would be the ones that require the barcodes predominantly for point of sale and distribution. So there's some benefits of good quality barcodes. It improves efficiencies at point of sale and their distribution centres. It's reduced costs throughout your supply chain, less out of stocks, and being a manufacturer, out of stocks are quite significant or important, because it opens the door to consumers trying other products. Example, if your product's not on the shelf today, so example, I wanted to buy orange juice, and let's say I was used to buying Orchard orange juice, and Orchard orange juice wasn't there, I could go to an alternate orange juice and say, oh, that's quite nice, and stop buying the other product, which means your customer's just lost a consumer. And there's not too many manufacturing companies around today that can afford that. So it's very critical to your customers that their barcode scan and that the stock is identified correctly and put on the shelves. You get a return on your investment. You can use it for forecasting, shorter waiting times for customers. As a customer in a supermarket, I do get frustrated sometimes at the length of delays at point of sale, and I have seen customers just leave their trolley behind and walk out of the store. I've seen customers at checkout not bother buying the product because it didn't scan, so they say I don't want it, which again is a loss of sale. Another impact to your customer because they can't afford to lose sales. So good quality barcodes reduce the waiting times, reduce the stress levels for the staff and customers. You do see some customers get very irate, and of course the staff get irate. And of course, to use self-service terminals, which a lot of the retailers are now going to, you need very high-performing barcodes. They have to have something like a 95 to 96% accuracy rate before they can actually use those terminals. And of course, you've got reduced costs of reworking faulty barcodes. If your barcode's faulty, rather than scrap the stock, you can rework them. But of course, there's a cost to that. If your products constantly don't scan at the distribution centres, I know major retailers like Coles and Woolies will actually end up rejecting them and send the trucks back to you, which is another huge cost. You improve your relationship with your trading partner because your trading partner knows they can rely on the stuff they're getting from you and the data they're getting from you. It improves your supply chain efficiencies, and of course, as I said earlier, it improves forecasting. So what is a barcode? A lot of people think a barcode's a really smart thing. It's actually not. It's quite dumb. A barcode is just a font. And basically how it works is that the number is encoded into a font or a barcode, and that number is loaded into a computer system. So when the barcode is printed, it is just merely printing the number. What happens is your customers would forward data to their customers, and they would load that onto their computer system. So when you pick a product up, take it to the checkout, it scans the barcode, the number that's embedded in the font is captured, put into the computer system, and it retrieves the data they've built or file they've built about the number. That's why you can buy the same bottle of milk at two different stores and they charge completely different prices, because within their databases they load different pricing information. So there's probably a couple of hundred different barcode types available in the world today. Currently GS1 we only use 4 for point of sale, and these are the 4 that are for point of sale, which is the EAN13, probably the most common and widely used barcode. The number type, so generally what drives your barcode type is your number. So if you have a GTIN13 or a 13-digit number, it's represented in an EAN13 barcode. For small products we have what is called a GTIN8, and it's represented in an EAN8 barcode. The GTIN8 or the small barcodes, your customer or the brand owner would need to apply. So if you have a very small product, let's say a packet of Tic Tacs for example, rather than try and cram a 13-digit number into the packaging, which is virtually impossible, you may be better off suggesting to them to get the 8-digit number, which is a much smaller barcode and physically takes less space, so you have more chance of printing the barcode in spec. Then you have the American GTIN12 or 12-digit number, and it's represented in a UPC-A barcode. Common problem that I strike is that people exporting to the States put a GTIN12 or 12-digit number on because some parts of North America and Canada need that number and barcode type. The printer, unaware that it is a UPC-A barcode, selects EAN13 barcode, adds another check digit to the end or another number to the end of the barcode or the number, and creates an EAN13 barcode, which is totally wrong because it's not firstly it's not the company's number because the number has changed, and to go into that sort of detail I usually need a few hours to explain different structures of numbers, but you need to be aware that there are 12-digit numbers and they are in a UPC-A barcode, and that's for people that are exporting to the States. So you need to check. If you don't get the barcode type when they're requested, example, customer sends you something that says I want a barcode, you need to find out what barcode they want. And then of course you have the zero suppressed G1012, which is very rare within Australia, can only be allocated from GS1 US. GS1 Australia cannot allocate those numbers. So definition of a retail item, that is any item that will be sold directly to consumers and scanned at point of sale. So some shelves, an example. Excuse me, and barcodes not scanned at point of sale. So the 4 barcodes earlier on were point of sale barcodes. So if I have a consumer unit that is going to be scanned at point of sale, sold to a consumer, it must use one of those 4 barcodes. The non-retail units, that is out of carton, that's not going to be scanned at point of sale but used merely for warehousing or distribution, you have 2 barcode types. My strong suggestion for post-print or pre-print is barcodes, ITF 14 barcode. The only time you would print a GS1 128 barcode is if you're doing auxiliary data such as use by date batch numbers, and that's live data, and that would be normally done in a thermal or inkjet process and a print and apply application. You wouldn't be post-printing use by date and batch numbers onto a carton. They'd have to be applied live. So strongest recommendation is always use ITF 14 barcode when you're giving a 14-digit number. So that's general distribution, some examples of environments for general distribution. And then of course you have products that cross both environments, that is general distribution and point of sale. So example, my favorite example is the carton of beer, but of course you have other things, wine, water, Coke, Pepsi. They have to carry point of sale barcodes. They have to carry an EAN13, a UPCA, or one of the other barcodes designed for point of sale. You wouldn't really see an 8-digit number on a large product because we wouldn't give them one, because 8-digit numbers are reserved for small products. So it's usually an EAN13 or UPCA barcode on an outer case. You can use them in warehouses. The barcodes have to be much bigger, and we'll talk about that in a moment when we talk about the key points to barcode quality. So just briefly, you have colors to consider. You have barcode width, or the magnification factor. You have the barcode height. You have the quiet zones, which is solid space left and right. And of course print quality and location. So just to give you a bit of a better view, basically a scanner sees a barcode through contrast. It doesn't actually see like a human eye. It actually recognizes dark and light. So for a barcode to scan, it needs to see dark and light. Generally cold colors are perceived as dark and warm colors are perceived as light. So a red background with black bars will work. However, a red barcode on a white background wouldn't work because the red is perceived as light and there's no contrast. Yellow is another good background color. Dark blues and greens are all good bar colors. So the cold colors for bars, warm colors for background. And of course your background colors and your bar colors have to be solids. They can't be processed colors. So if you wanted to use a gray, for example, a light gray behind the barcode, you couldn't consist of black and white, right? So black dots on a white background. It would have to be a solid light gray, because as soon as you put the black dots in the white background color, it sees them as imperfections within the background color. You should also avoid reflective colors. Golds and silvers are a no-no because they are highly reflective. Purples and browns can be a bit iffy because purples and browns both have red in them, and depending on the amount of red, depends on whether the contrast is okay or not. And of course any transparent wraps over the top of them will hurt it. You can reverse print a barcode, but you have to reverse print them the right way. In these 2 examples they're incorrect. What they've done is they've reverse printed the bars to white and the white spaces to dark. You can't do that. If you had a black substrate and you wanted to reverse print, you would actually be printing in the quiet zones, which is space left and right, and the light spaces, not the dark bars. So just be careful with reverse colors. Magnification factor or size of the barcode. Who determines the size of the barcode? Well, it's not me, and it's not actually the graphic designer. It should be the printer, and that should be based on your printing process and the substrates you're using and the direction of print. All of those things will have an impact on your barcode. And of course the bigger the barcode, the more tolerance you have, so the easier it is to print. On flexible substrates, we'd recommend a minimum of 105%. So as you can see, this magnification sizes range from 80 to 200%. But in flexible substrates with flexographic printing, we would recommend a minimum of 105%. If you're doing a lithographic process on a high quality paper, you may come down to 85, 90%. The main thing to remember is the bigger you make the barcode, the more tolerance you're going to have, and the easier it's going to be for you to print a good quality barcode. So 80% is your minimum, 200% is the maximum, and it's not an aesthetic thing. The barcode should always be considered as a point of quality. It's a necessary evil according to a graphic designer, but it shouldn't be distorted and be the last thing to be thought about on a piece of packaging. A barcode is very critical for your customers because without the barcode on a product, they can't sell it, and if they can't sell it, there's no point producing it. So yeah, bigger the barcode, the better. For carton barcodes or ITF-14s, the minimum is 50, maximum is 100%. If you're printing directly onto corrugated board, generally you wouldn't want to go below 80% on an ITF-14 barcode, and you're much better off printing them at 100% due to the nature of the substrate of corrugate, the recycled board we use, the flutes, and the flexographic plates that are normally used. And there's a high degree of spread in there, so bigger barcode, more tolerances. GS1 128, my recommendation is you shouldn't be printing this directly onto a substrate. It only use this barcode type for print and apply applications. So there's no difference between printing a 14-digit number in an ITF or a GS1 128 barcode. It's absolutely nil difference. So you're much better off using an ITF-14 barcode, which makes your life easier. It's a much more simplistic barcode. There are other sizes for different environments. But there's no way you'd ever be able to print a 25% barcode, ITF-14 barcode on a corrugated board. It'd just be a blob of ink. Barcode height. A lot of people don't understand that there's a relationship between the width of the EA and UPC barcodes and the height. So in the supermarket industry, for example Woolworths and Coles, they use what is called omnidirectional scanners. In the gen merch industry such as Myers and Target, they use bidirectional handheld scanners. The difference between the two is a bidirectional scanner emits a single light beam, so truncating or reducing the height of the barcode doesn't play much of a problem because you shoot in an aim, and therefore as long as you hit your target it will scan. However, in the supermarket industry, the retailers have what is called omnidirectional scanners. If you look at the little picture down the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a whole heap of beams going across that barcode, and so those beams, the barcode has to go through the field of beams, and one of the beams has to hit from left to right or right to left for the barcode to scan. If it doesn't, it don't scan. So truncated barcodes, that is reduced height barcodes, have an impact on how good they scan. And if you have to scan 8 billion barcodes twice, that's 16 billion scans, so it's quite a significant impact on the retailers who are paying for people to stand there and scan the barcodes. So your width and height are quite proportional and they need to be addressed. So the wider the barcode, the higher the barcode, and there is a set relationship between width and height for EA and UPC, which is a 4 point of sale barcodes. There's some examples of some truncated barcodes. Nothing wrong with the barcodes, they've just been reduced in height. In some instances, there's no reason why it should have been reduced in height. It was just a graphics design thing. I can't tell you why they reduce them in height. It seems to be quite prevalent throughout society or throughout the supermarkets. And it's a common misconception because a barcode like that comes to me, I will fail it and say that it's out of specification, which can cause problems for your customers. And we'll talk about how that happens a bit later. So the height of the barcode for non-retail is basically 32 mils. And that does not include the bearer bar, which is the box around the ITF-14 barcode. It's inside the bearer bar. So the bearer bar, the purpose of the bearer bar is if you're printing corrugated board is to equalize your plate pressure. So basically the bearer bar tensions the substrate and allows a clear impression. The other purpose of the bearer bar is to stop a scanner from short scanning, which means if a scanning beam hit across 6, 8, 10 characters, it would short scan and not take out the correct number. So there's two purposes of the bearer bar. Main one for you guys is it equalizes plate pressure and makes printing the barcode easier. Quiet zone, So how does a scanner determine the start and end of a barcode? How it does that is by it sees a big solid space at the beginning and a big solid space at the end, and then I read the bars in between these two big spaces. If the quiet zone is incorrect or not there, so too small, it won't be able to read it. So what determines the quiet zone? Well, first of all, it's the barcode type. Each barcode type has its particular quiet zone, and dependent on the magnification factor, so the width of the barcode, that will determine the quiet zone. So for an EAN13 at 100%, the quiet zone on the left-hand side would be 3.63 millimeters. On the right-hand side it would be 2.31. An EAN13 at 80%, the quiet zone on the left would be 2.9 millimeters, and on the right-hand side 1.85. Now, that's the minimum area. In all of our sheets or all of our documentation, we only specify the minimum area. There is no maximum area, so you could have 100 millimeters left and right. So my advice is, if you're cutting in on a dark color, which means you'll need a white box, and the total area required according to our sheets is 40 millimeters, make the box 42 or 44 millimeters, which gives you extra area for registration. So if you have a shift of registration of half a mil or whatever, it won't impact on your quiet zone. If you allow the bare minimum, any shift in registration will impact on your quiet zone. And you should also keep graphics and text or anything like that clear of the area. As you can see in this example, they've done both the left and right hand side with some text on the right and with the blue line on the left hand side. So print quality, barcode should be crisp, clear and well defined. The example that I'm showing you here was actually a sample sent to us, and it was sent to me by a printer. Now, to me, you don't have to be Einstein to work out there's something wrong with that barcode. But anyway, if you have a barcode that looks like that, you have a problem, and there's several reasons you'd have that problem. But you require to have regular ongoing checks. You check everything else on your art, and you check everything as you run along on the press. I have seen jobs where they didn't check the barcode, and what happened, the only thing in black was the barcode, and the black ink ran out, and then the rest of the job had no barcodes. It just had a white box with nothing in it. So you need to ensure ongoing checks of barcode quality. You do get variations through your run, so from start to finish, and of course across your web if you're doing web printing. Your substrate also needs to be taken into account. As I said, with flexible substrates, we recommend 105% minimum. With egg cartons, for example, which are very porous, very spongy sort of substrate, you'd want to print bigger barcodes because you're going to get a lot more bleed. In fact, most of the egg cartons nowadays have either little sticky labels stuck onto them or have a paper sleeve around them because it was near impossible on that substrate to print barcodes that worked. The other things that impact the quality of your barcode will be the magnification factor you choose, direction of print. Into direction of print is usually the best way to print a barcode because your gain is top and bottom of the bars. You don't get so much across the width of the bar. If you print the barcode against the direction of print, you get more spread across the width of the bar, which tends to close the barcode up. And you also have to compensate for plate distortion when you stretch the plate around the cylinder. A lot of companies don't do that, and it can create problems. Okay, location. We have general recommendations about locations. You guys really can't control the location of the barcode. It's up to your customers. They would be the ones that tell you where to put the barcode. Of course, in the sense of customer service, if you saw that the barcode was wrapping around the corner or sitting on a fold line, something along those lines, you might be nice to them and tell them that it's going to be a problem. So they don't end up with products that look like that. They're actual products. I didn't create them. They were sent to me. The barcode on the right-hand side, scanners don't read around corner. The one on the left-hand side, it's not considered how it's going to be in its form state. They could have easily moved that barcode over a bit more to the center, and it would have avoided the problem. The one on the right-hand side, put it on one panel, not on two panels. But they're examples of what happens when location goes wrong. Barcodes are printed perfectly, right width, right height, good print quality, nice and clear. Only thing that's destroyed them is the location. For non-retail units, the location is 32 mils from the bottom of the bars to the bottom of the carton. We recommend a minimum of 2 adjacent sides, that is a short side and long side to the right. Currently in the retail sector, Woolworths and Coles are asking for 4 or 6 on corrugated board if they're pre-printed. So if you're printing onto brown corrugate, ITF 14s, your customer's customer will generally want 4 or 6. I believe they've calmed down and they only want 4 now, but I still get told sometimes they ask for 6. Anyway, but that's something you should take up with your customer, notify them. If they give you a carton, there's only 1 barcode on it, so you might want to check what your trading partner requires, because it's a trading partner requirement, not a GS1 requirement. Verification reports, as I said earlier on, a lot of your customers will be required to get verification reports when they launch new line items into the retailers of Australia. And what the verification reports is a test on your barcode conducted by staff in Sydney and Melbourne. And also in New Zealand. New Zealand are very big on it too, and New Zealand, GS1 New Zealand have a verification service as well. What we do, we check the traditional parameters, so that is the width, the height, scanning environment, etc. And then we also check the ISO parameters. ISO standard we use is ISO 15416, which is a print quality standard set up by International Standards Organization. As an example of a report, that's a full report. The thing that most of your customers will look at is the thing in the top left-hand corner, and they call it the super tick, which means that the barcode meets our specification. You can also tell you the reports are valid for 12 months, its overall performance. If there's something wrong, it will have a cross, and there will be comments about why it's got a cross. That cross can present problems to your customers. The other parts of the report are product barcode details, what environment we assess the barcode for, what's the ISO grade, whether it's scanned on our scanner, and of course the location of the barcode. The second page of the report carries your traditional parameters, which is what I've already talked to you about, the magnification factor or width of barcode, the heights of the barcode, the quiet zones, the check digit, the general representation. General representation, believe it or not, refers to does the barcode actually scan the number printed below it. A lot of people that use scanners or verifiers forget to check that. We do regularly get products that don't scan the number that's printed below. So that's something that's quite critical because it's not right. And whether they pass or fail. So left-hand side is the parameter, right-hand side is whether they pass or fail. Where there's measurements, we will put you what was assessed and then what the minimum is, so assessed in the assess column, minimum in the minimum column. And the bottom part of the report is the ISO parameters. I'm not going to go into that. That takes about an hour to actually explain all those parameters. And of course we can offer interim verification reports, that is on artwork. Some of your customers will be asked to supply paperwork 6 weeks, 8 weeks prior to even manufacturing the product. One of the ways they can get around, because they normally won't have the product printed and packed by then, is use artwork and get an interim verification report. This verification service is open to all customers or all people within Australia. Currently we're trying to get the printing industry to adopt a bit more QA process for barcodes. So if you wanted to, you could use our verification service as a QA process to ensure your barcodes are right. We currently charge $30 per report for members and $95 per report for non-members, but we're trying to entice the printing industry, so we're happy to test barcodes for the printing industry at $30 per report and not charge non-member rates. Basically, another place or source of information for you is on our website, and there's a thing called the fact sheets. Fact sheets actually show you the barcode sizes, the different barcode types, the width the barcode should be, the height, and what the minimum quiet zones are required. Strongly recommend you print yourself some copies of those because they're a very good way of just measuring with a ruler that you've basically got the right parameters in the width, the height, and the quiet zones. And it also shows you what sizes you can print up to. You can't print barcodes too small because scanners can't see them, and you can't print them too big because they go outside of the focal range of the scanner. And that's it. So questions?
Great. Okay, so absolutely everyone, if you do have any questions, just put them into the questions box. While I just wait for a few more to come in, I'll just do a few announcements. Firstly, GS1 is one of our Better Business partners, so if you would like any more information about them, head over to our Better Business website for more information. If you want to check out any of our other webinars, on August 27th, we have a Creative Cloud overview webinar. So if you've heard of Creative Cloud, not sure what it is, or want to just get some basic information about it, check that out. And then on September 10th, we have a webinar about electrical tag and testing. So that's all about how you can train your staff in-house to do electrical tag and testing, and there's no need to call in an electrician every time you need to do that. But now moving on to our questions for this webinar. So far I've just got a couple of questions, and the first one is, can you please tell us a bit about the barcode testing process?
Okay, the barcode verification process is fairly easy to do. What you can do is you don't have to have a finished or formed product, because we don't have to check the location. Our preference is to check printed material, and then we can give it an ISO grade, and you merely send that sample to GS1, either Sydney or Melbourne office, accompany it with a covering letter stating your name, address, etc. Or you can download a form. There's a barcode testing and photography order form, and you can fill that out, submit that with your sample, allow 3 to 5 working days, and we'll get back to you with a report. If you wanted to do artwork, we could look at doing it in a digital file, as long as it was in a 100% size format that could be printed into A3 or A4 paper, and of course your contact details, which would be in the email, and we can do an interim report on the artwork. So basically you need to get the sample to us, contact details, we attach the report, we email back the report PDF file, and then if it's any questions or any problems, you can easily ring us up and we can discuss and talk it through with you.
Thank you. And I've got an interesting question here, which is, what kind of barcode would you use if you were to charge, for example, train tickets, each ticket having its own number?
Okay, that's a serialized barcode, and that will be an in-house system. So that will be determined by your customer. If they were using GS1 standard, we would recommend a GS1 128. Or you could do one of the 2D barcodes, which I haven't raised 2D because they're more for serialized things and it's not pre-print, unless you have digital printing where you can do serialization, of course. There are printers that can do that. But you would find that the trains, the planes are all using in-house systems, and you'd have to find out what barcode type they require. So it's usually to be a code 128.
Oh, hello, are you there?
Or a code 3 of 9. Yeah?
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, just I got this fuzz. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello?
John, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank God, I got this fuzzy sound.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Phew. Sorry, please continue.
No, it's still working. So, with serialized train tickets, it's not really part of GS1 standards at the moment. We do have the standard available, but currently being used in Australia. It's not our standard. It's an in-house numbering system, and therefore they will tell you what their numbers are. They'll have a structure to their number, and then should tell you what barcode type. If you don't know what the barcode type is, but you can get a sample, if you can get that over to me, I can easily analyze it or put it through my machine, and it'll tell me what barcode type it is. I can't, however, tell you what the structures of their numbers are or how they determine that structure. I can't tell you whether they've got check digits, because there's lots of different ways to do check digits within barcodes.
Great. And we will move on to the next question, which is, do barcodes expire? If a barcoded product was reordered by a client using standard art, would they need a new barcode?
No. The life of the product, the barcode stays the same, or the number stays the same. Now, of course, if you reinvigorate your art and do something and change the plates and etc., you may put a new barcode in, but the number and the barcode type would remain constant and would not change. And within our standards for healthcare, you cannot reuse numbers and barcodes, so it's only ever used on one product. Within general retail consumer products, there's a 4-year period. So if you have a product and you delete it so the product no longer exists, in 4 years' time you could theoretically reuse the number and the barcode. Personally, I don't recommend reusing numbers and barcodes. I would just recommend allocate a new number and put a new barcode on.
Great, thank you. And we've got a couple more questions. One is, who at GS1 do we contact if we require a barcode number for our customer?
Okay, well your customer should organise that, because the customer is the one who the membership will be put against, so they need to join, and we need to know what sort of numbers, because we have different membership packages, for want of a better word. For smaller companies, they can buy like 1 to 5 numbers. For companies that and they've got to be under a $1 million turnover. For larger companies over a $1 million turnover, they have to buy what's called a prefix, which gives them a range of numbers, up to 10,000 numbers actually. And then there's set fees depending on their turnover. I think it's around about $600 or $700 if you're the 1 million to 5 million or 5 million to 10 million, something like that. All those fees are on our website. We don't recommend the printer actually put their number on the product. The problem with that is that the brand owner is responsible for the product, and it should be the brand owner's number. So that, for example, for the brand owner, let's say you had XYZ company printing it, and XYZ put their number on it. If in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, they had a falling out and they went to a different printer, they would take XYZ's number, I'm sure, and keep it on that product. And that's going to be wrong, because XYZ could then allocate that product to something else, and then you've got 2 products out in the marketplace with the same number. So it should always be the brand owner who owns the number and puts the number on the product.
Got it. And this seems to be our last question, so if anyone else wants to ask something, do so now, please. But the last question seems to be, where can I get more information about matching barcodes to substrates?
Well, you can read our Groovy manual. It does have it. You can download it from our website, the GS1 or GS1 user manual. I think it's the global or gen specs now. It does talk about printing processes within the manual, so that would be probably the best place to start. And if you wanted to, then you could come in and see us, and we can try and explain things to you. You can ring us up with any questions. We can help you fingerprint. Basically, fingerprinting your machines would be that you would run some test samples of barcodes in different print directions on different substrates. We could then analyze the barcodes and tell you which ones come out the best. You also could apply different dot reductions, so or what we call the bar width reductions. So that's just compensate for any bleed or bar gain or dot growth that you're getting through your printing process. So there's 2 ways you can do a reading process, which you read in our gen specs, and then you could do some physical test if you wanted to footprint your machine, so that you knew over the course of a run, that this was the size barcode you needed to print because of the variations, the substrates, etc., and the viscosities of your ink. That's generally the easiest way to do the footprinting, which means you'd know what size barcodes you can print.
Great, thank you. And we have
so
just
when your customers come to...
Sorry, this is why we need camera. Please continue. Yep.
Okay, so when your customer comes to you and said, "Oh, print me an 80% barcode," and you're printing onto a plastic bag, you could turn around and say to them, "No, I need to print a barcode at 105%, and if you want me to print it at 80%, fine, I'll do that, but you just sign this disclaimer to take away the liability, because I'm telling you I can't print the barcode to work successfully at that size." So really up to you guys to push back to your customers saying, "This is what I need, and if you want a good job, this is what I have to do."
Got it, and I just left an extra pause to make sure I wouldn't talk over you again. We've had one more question come in, which is, what barcode generators do you recommend or recommend against?
Okay, we don't supply or recommend or endorse any form of equipment. If you're doing barcode generation, there's a couple of programs around. My recommendation would be that, first of all, try to get a trial version of the software. Make sure that the file types are correct for your image setter if you're doing digital. If you're doing film, you would need a film master, but for barcode generation, make sure it can do the relevant barcode types you want. So for GS1 it would be EAN 13, UPCA, the 4 barcodes I showed you earlier on, point of sale, and an ITF 14 barcode. The main thing that goes wrong with the barcode generation is not the barcode generation, it's the person generating the barcode. not being aware that there are hundreds of different barcode types and selecting the wrong barcode. Most generation programs will allow you to do pixel reductions or dot reductions, which you need to footprint your machine to know what they are. But there's no real hard and fast program. And of course some of you guys will be using Macs and some will be using Windows, so you also need a program that's suitable for the operating system that you have.
Okay, thank you. And that seems to be the end of the questions, so I'll wrap things up now. Thank you very much to our presenter, John Lane from GS1. Thank you very much to our audience. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us today.